Hello and welcome to Bands You've Never Heard of. I'm your host, JR.
And I'm your other host, Gary.
We have another special episode for you. Not your typical formula tonight.
Now, this is a very special episode because this is an industry insider episode. So we hope that the casual listener will still, you want to see how the sausage is made a little bit. Find out what some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and this is one of the episodes for you.
And if you are a musician that listens to this show who plays out and maybe thinks it would be nice to make money playing music, this episode's guest, has an app that will help you understand your value as a musician. His name is Cliff Adams. His app is called MoneyGigs. His website is called themoneygigs.com. Listen throughout the show. We will actually give you an invite code that will allow you to use even the paid features of the app for free for the first 100 listeners that use and download this app with our invite code. It's a special code just for us. And
just for us.
Yeah. This podcast, we actually interviewed him, and we'll be on his podcast. He'll be on this episode of the podcast. And he's got a lot of and he's got a lot of very valuable insights for you, the gigging musician. So we hope that there's some value here for you and that you get something out of this interview. And so anything else they need to know, Gary, before we bring in Cliff Adams?
That we hopefully will be doing a few more inside the music biz episodes in the future because this one went so well.
Excellent. Here's our interview with Cliff Adams from themoneygigs.com.
From Cincinnati, Ohio.
Bands you've heard of.
So, how are we doing this? I've been, Gary mentioned all your stuff to me. I listened to a bunch of your episodes in the last few days, so I have an idea what your show's about, and I have an idea what we could talk about, where we could both find mutual ground, right? I think I really love the idea of some cross podcast promotion. Is probably the best way to get the word out about our individual podcasts. But how do you see it going?
For me, this is interesting because the hardest part about my podcast is I like to talk, and that's bullshit. So I generally, I'll tell you my formula. My formula is I bring in Fireflies.ai to listen to my podcast. I then take that transcript and I send it to Claude and Gemini and I say, cut out the bullshit for me. And it is ruthless. It will be like, it'll even say things like, Cliff, you think a little bit too much of yourself and you're not that special. I didn't get the you're not that special until I paid to go pro with Claude, and then he got real. So, and then I do all the editing. I ask it for, backwards chronology, edit points so I can go into Audacity and suck it all in and then do the normalization, compression, and push. So for this, though, I think listening, I want your questions. We can guide it. But my podcast is actually a promotional. All podcasts are promotional for something. And mine is no different. It actually promotes my app that I'm developing for musicians.
Which I now have, yes.
Yes. Well, thank you. You're why my units are ticking upward, I suppose. Are you Android or iOS?
iOS.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the first thing. First mistake I made. I started the app in 2018. My wife and I were vacationing in Peru, and we went to a resort. She's from Peru, and we went to a resort there. And she knew the woman, and the woman was having an app created for the resort that would guide people through sort of a botany thing that she had out in the woods or the forest or the beach. And I saw it and I was like, well, can I get the name of that person? And so I had them develop me an app, and it was really cheap because the dollar spends well there. And they only developed it for Android. And that was because I had an Android. So I was like, lesson one, and don't be egotistical and think of yourself all the time, because I think we all know, like, what would you say, 85%, 90% of customer musicians are holding an iOS device. Pretty much.
Probably. Yeah.
Apple is prevalent for sure.
Except for our second guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, we almost didn't let him in the band because of that.
Yeah, we told him that when it came for a new phone, he had to get
I think he was invited into the band, and then we realized he was an Android. We're like, wait, what? You
What's
just
wrong with you?
ruined our group chat. Uh,
Now, is that your To Be Fair?
Yes, that's To Be
Oh,
Fair.
I really love the band. What's the first Break Into the Lights, or is that, I get that
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So Springsteen, like
ooh,
really nice, piquant of Springsteen, gutty, and it's got those sort of moments that kind of hang and then push. It's like you're riding in a Chevy with Bruce Springsteen. It's great.
It's a feel of lonely in a crowded room, fading to the dark or leave way too soon, taking front and center, no camera on and zoom, work your way forward. When the darkness wins, we are bound to lose.
Gary's
Although
voice has a lot of similarities to Bruce Springsteen's
very
voice. Now,
gutty,
yeah,
like
very guttural is the right word for it.
love that. So yeah,
I'm blushing.
yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of, I don't know how you want it to go. I wanted to serve you guys as much as anything. We can trade notes as well on podcasts. Like, I was really keen to see you started with Room for Zero from Cincinnati.
Yes.
Yeah, we were going to bring that up. We have two Cincinnati bands,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned you happened to mention Skyline Chili. It's like nobody mentions Cincinnati unless and without mentioning Skyline. And the next time you all are in town, we'll go to Camp Washington. I'll show you what chili is.
Nice.
Yeah, good
So,
stuff.
as far as I'm concerned, we could do one long thing. You can take it and edit it for your show however you want. And I'm probably more inclined to use the entire thing and only cutting out, flubs and stuff. And making this a special episode because I think we've got a bunch of really interesting things to talk about. We could talk about the podcasts. We could talk about our band. We could talk about your podcast, your app, your music, Cincinnati, Charlottesville. We could talk about all of that, and I think it's kind of relevant to what we do, as long as we're sort of talking about a lot of the bands that we either are or feature or talk to, and that you probably built an app thinking about, are bands that are not yet household names, right? These are smaller bands that probably the bulk of Americans haven't heard of yet.
Yes, exactly. I think the reason I built the app, there's two reasons, but it comes from a motivation. So in 2015, 2016, between those 2 years, each year I probably had about 120 gigs. I mean, I was playing a lot and I burnt out actually. And at the same time, I was kind of a global IT consultant. I'm making a nice six-figure salary. I was a coder, still a coder. Probably want to say that since I wrote the app.
Yeah.
And but I turned into what's called a product owner, product manager, which is the guy that talks to. You remember the scene in Office Space where the guy said, "I'm the guy that takes the requirements from the stakeholders to the developer. I'm a people person." Well, that's my job. And when the H-1B visa price went from 2,500 to 100,000 a few months ago, my global IT consultancy's response was fire all the Americans.
Oh,
So yeah, didn't see that one coming. But the motivation in 2015 was I had lost my job. I had to replace that income, so I started Uber driving when Uber was kind of new. And so part of it was my love affair with technology. Part of it was getting up at 5 a.m., getting in a car and discovering that, yeah, you know what? The world does move then.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's the best time to Uber drive. If you're out there and if you're a musician, you're having to Uber drive, if you're not running 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., you're missing out because it is when the world wakes up. It is when the big wigs go to the airport, when managers are being, trying to find transportation to their restaurants and bars so they can go recover from the night before. And I'm generally a people person. So 3 months in a row, I was Cincinnati's #1 Uber driver because I
Oh,
was
wow.
the first person. I invented putting iced water in the cup holders with the candy, all that stuff. I did everything. I came to understand that you do not want your car to smell like anything after 11 p.m. All sorts of tips and tricks. So, but from that, I had the opportunity to compare what I was making for my time with gigs and what I was making for my time with Uber. And Uber was better 80% of the time. And because the moment you put your butt in
per
the seat,
hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
per hour, all in. And honestly, if you're doing this full time or you're even doing it as a side hustle, to me, every minute matters. Every moment matters. When you put your butt in the seat and you leave your family and you've directed the car out of the driveway, you should demand money. You should demand your value immediately. So I started to put all my gigs on a spreadsheet, and I put in drive time and setup time and the gig time, rehearsal time. And I found that on a number of occasions, I wasn't making minimum wage. I wasn't making $7 an hour. And so I started to say no, just on that basis. And all of a sudden, my whole life got better because I was able to devote more time to either improving my musical product or finding better musical opportunities, which paid infinitely more, or I was able to Uber drive and make more money. And I would say that was kind of the motivation was like, hey, I went to college for, not that that's a thing, but I went to college for music. I studied jazz music for umpteen years, both in the prep department and in college at UC. I've been playing piano for 49 years. So I'm like, this is a skill that I've worked at. I should be making more
Yeah.
than Uber driving.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people should too. I really feel that that's important to have that recognition. So I'm not saying, and you'll see in the app, I'm not saying you can't take this gig. If you put the numbers in and it comes out to something below what you're normally making, you can go ahead and take it because I recognize that
But you
over.
know what you're taking.
But you're aware, just awareness,
Yeah.
and it's been so interesting because I've handed actually my friend Josh, he's a bass player, and we went out and he took my phone with the app on it and just handed it to his friend Bill and said, "Do this." And he really wanted to test whether somebody understood the interface. And Bill, puts in his numbers and he got down to the bottom number and it said something like 682 an hour. And he literally just dropped the phone and looked away. I will never forget that. And I think that's the problem I have to overcome now is, especially because I'm ADHD, a lot of musicians are, that's one of those moments where that task paralysis, that sense of overwhelm can happen when you get, when you are uh, confronted with the reality. You might go, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I want to go back to that dopamine. I want to go
Yeah.
back to that. I want to go back to that thing that I love so much, and I don't want anyone to take it away from me because it's so important. It's being taken away from you, regardless.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Let's kind of, I mean, we've already started, but let's get a baseline for who you are and what you do. Because
Musically, I think, right?
musically, yeah.
Yeah.
But well, that's gonna involve the other stuff too. Because we already found out he's an IT guy, a pretty big level, high level IT. He's been an Uber driver, so has Jr.
You asked about my sort of baseball card.
Yeah, yeah. What's your
So my father was, as we said, Cliff Adams. He played Flanagan's Landing, Sleep Out Louie's, and Caddies on Second Street when we still had Second Street, when we had Riverfront Stadium, We still had the Spaghetti Factory. So he had experiences like Tom Browning singing a mean Elton John. He really grew up with the community, and he was a piano player. And so, we had an upright Steinway. He had at one point, a Prophet T8. He had not an Alesis, what was it called? Synthesizer 2.3 synthesizer with the big 14-inch like diskettes you had to load the sounds in with. So obviously he had a Bang& Olufsen record player with lots of records, and so I was the kid that would wake up at God in the morning and go down and listen to Paul Simon, Doobie Brothers, whatever, Cat Stevens, Stevie Wonder, all that with the big headphones on, and would start to sing out loud at around 6 a.m. and I would have to be reminded by my parents that they could hear me. And so I got into piano for a long time. First, my dad as a teacher, that didn't work at all. Then a nun who smelled, that didn't work at all. And then the College Conservatory of Music, about, I think it was 6 or 7, maybe 8. And I started taking there, and I didn't leave until I was 22. So I basically did classical up until I was 16. I left classical under Dr. Jackson Leung, who is now the director of music at Wright State. God bless him. I feel bad because I was a terrible student, because I got into, I don't know, women at 16, and I figured that classical music was
16.
classical was not going to get me what I was after. So I switched to jazz, and sure enough, I got girls, children, divorces, all that stuff came as a result of jazz music. So then from like 16 to long, long time, like I've played solo, trios, quartets, and jazz. And then like toward the end of my active playing career, sort of into salsa. I had my own salsa band. I was in salsa bands in Cincinnati. We had a big scene with Chiquita here until they left. We still do. There's a nice scene here for that, but got into that. Now, I felt like I was on hiatus from about 2016, 2018. I would take a gig here or there, but I had left it. And I think it's the best part of this app development that I'm doing, because you can't really say that you're developing an app for gigging musicians by gigging musicians if you're not a gigging
musician.
So I was like, but by losing my job in September, I was kind of forced. And so I called my friend Jean-Francois up. He runs Taste of Belgium restaurants here. I said, "You don't have any music. Can we try it?" And he said, "Sure." So I play twice a week. I play his Rookwood location on Wednesdays and his Banks location on Thursdays. And my favorite gig of all, once or twice a month, is the Kroger grocery store. I'm going to say that out loud, just so that if my former jazz professor from UC can hear that, he can think to himself, all those hours I spent with Cliff, and his favorite thing to do is to play the grocery.
Play the Kroger.
It's really.
But Kroger in Cincinnati, that's like that'd be like us playing the Rotunda in Charlottesville.
Well, they have a nice bar. They have a bar with about 9 beers and 9 wines, and nobody gets too drunk. Nobody smokes. There's kids. I love the kids. When the kids go by, I can play the theme from Sesame Street or whatever. I've yet to get whatever that K-pop all-star tune, but it's forced me back into learning tunes, but also confronting the new reality of gigging. It is not like it was 10 years ago. It is, COVID changed a lot for restaurants and a lot for musicians, and I'm business minded, as you've picked up. So I don't go into a place looking to be a cost. It's a point of personal pride for me. So what I told Jean-Francois was, I'm going to play an hour, and if your manager thinks, I've been paid for it, we'll continue. So I kind of gave him an hourly rate, and he can call me off anytime he wants. And it's just worked out that it's worked out. But there's a lot of friction, and that presents problems for musicians trying to get gigs, because DoorDash, you don't have to go out, weather, high cost, and then general just restaurant behavior, waiters, waitresses, and are they the same people? Are we still getting the same experience that we did 10 years ago? And the answer is no. They're different people. So it's a real challenge, and I'm facing it. And so every time I sit down or every time I get a gig, um, good example was I had a St. Pat's gig at the grocery store, and I was all obsessed with learning, relearning Molly Malone and Drunken Sailor and Into the Mystic, and I learned a couple of U2 tunes. I learned that Enya tune, all that stuff. I got that back in my repertoire, and but it all came to, as ADHD people will do, it all came about like days before the gig, even though I knew about it 2 months ago. So I thought to myself, what could I have built into the app that would have helped me pace this, that would have helped me put my best foot forward? Now, the irony being, I got to the gig and I think there were 5 people.
Right.
So, I don't know why the management didn't either. I think it's because they started limiting the number of beers you can have to 2. And on St. Pat's, that might not work out.
Right.
But there are some really good people there, and it was fun. But that's an example of the thinking I'm going through. And then the 3 stages of a gig: before, during, and after. So what do you need before the gig? What do you need on the gig? And what do you need after the gig? And you'll see in some of my podcast episodes, like with Sibel, she's from Cincinnati. She has 4 residencies a week that she's had for 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So she's the real deal. And she goes, Cliff, I'll download your app. And at the time I was charging $5. She said, I'll give you $5, but I'm not going to use it. I was like, wow.
She doesn't need to.
You should. So I was like, well, that's the thing. And so what I keep going back to ADHD, but it's really, I'm leaning into it because I denied it for so long. And then I've read books and I've educated myself. But the one thing you can give an ADHD person and he'll chew on it is an impossible problem. And so when Sibel says, I don't need it, my brain goes, I'll make you need it. And so
challenge accepted.
I am really competitive, very ideative, very futuristic. So for her and for other musicians, and it's not built into the app yet, but it's more like, okay, on the gig, how do I get more engagement? How do I get more participation? Certainly collecting tips and things like that. But then it was also some so I'll say soft skill things after the gig that I can actually show you. But it's reflecting on the gig of, okay, these other things besides pay are important to you about this gig. Did you achieve them? Was the crowd size good? Did you feel like you sensed creativity? Whatever those factors are. So it's sort of a retrospective feature, and that is in the app.
Using some of the more nebulous, touchy-feely things instead of
honestly, I think the thing that I've experienced myself, and I see it in musicians, there's just not enough self-care. There's just no way, especially artists that are going out to try to do original stuff. Rejection's everywhere. Rejection is everywhere. And
that's where I have a question. So I don't know if you have this kind of data or not with your app, but do you have a feel for if the majority or a higher percentage of your app users are cover bands or artists like yourself playing a lot of other people's songs, or are they more geared to playing originals at an actual music venue and not just background at a restaurant or a Kroger or something like that? Do you have a feel for where your user base is?
Yeah, right now it's a lot of what I do. It's a lot of solo, cover types of people. They're looking for something to help them structure their gig plan, if you will, but also keep in mind that that rate that they're charging, kind of put some structure behind that, so it's not just random. I think we have all said since late 90s that a gig pays $50. I mean, it has done nothing with inflation, right? It has stuck there. So that's part of what I'm trying to solve is I believe that if a majority of musicians are aware of what they're making, they'll make different choices. And as a result, I believe quality and pay will improve for everyone. That is my hypothesis. The other backing of that is my sort of what I call Yelp for musicians feature, where you go in and you pull up the venue and you can see the genres they expect, the instrumentation that's played there, and then a 5-star rating and comments, sort of Yelp for musicians. So you arrive a little bit more informed, potentially, about what you're about to face.
Yeah, that was the and I pinged you about that. Some of the stuff was a little confusing as to what am I bringing? What do they have? And but that particular thing, I think that's invaluable to anyone that is not being booked.
Right.
Not being, if you're doing your own booking or you have a friend booking or whatever like that, that is one of the most important parts of your app that goes across the cover songs, the solos, the duos, the cover songs versus the original music band who is trying to find the next great place to play.
Right.
That goes across those, that divide,
All the
because
spectrum.
because
Right.
we
We don't want to
find
waste
that we
time.
we find that divide a lot because we play original music, but we also do some cover songs, and we've been able to book like private gigs. We did one last weekend at basically a retirement community, and it went off great. We don't know why or how, but they dug all of our original stuff. We put in a few more covers than we usually do, but still, it was mostly just the stuff from the album. One of the new songs because the new songs are getting heavier and harder. Um,
Well,
but
you hit two things there that are really important. I have to rewind really far back when you said something was confusing. Those are the moments I'm looking for. Those are my
yeah,
holy grails. When people say something like something's confusing, I,
yeah,
oh
it
my
can't be
God.
confusing, man. It can't be
Right. So
confusing.
like if those are the moments I want, and the most important thing I have to convey is if you haven't already figured it out, I'm a very anti-CEO CEO.
Hmm.
I want to work with musicians to do this. I can come up with 1,000 ideas for what I want in this app, but it feels like I'm just pulling the boat away from the shore and nobody's gotten on the boat. And so I'm leaving the boat parked until I have consensus on things, until I have a discussion going on with musicians. And the thing that has really come across to me in the past 3 months is musicians are not just creative people about music. They are creative about gigs. Restaurants should hire them to consult about their marketing because a musician has typically seen 10, 15 different types of restaurant or venue. They are a bevy of data
Yeah,
that restaurants
that's
should be
a
pulling on.
great point.
And the same is true. I'm going to say this. Everybody's an app developer. You really are, because at this point it's so fluid. It's not all AI. I still have to code, but if you give me an idea, the time to market for that idea is really small. So I can put it out there and get things going. But I have really stopped. Like I put a moratorium on features in March because I'm really diving into promotion, because as you can see, I'm an introvert. So I really am, and so the fear of rejection's real. My inner critic is I don't know if you remember Colonel Jessup from Few Good Men. That's my inner critic. So he's really effective. Like, "Cliff, this isn't going to work. You suck. You need to go get a job." So it's really, I need collaboration to make this happen, if for no other reason than to just drown him out. And I
Right.
need to hear real voices. And so that when you say something like that, that I really key in on that too. The other thing you said about playing at rest homes, my father does too. My son, who's in the Cincinnati boy choir,
Oh,
uh, he also does those gigs occasionally. And the word perspective comes to mind. If you're playing music in one of those places, it's a beautiful experience because those people have they have cornered the market on perspective.
Yeah.
And they just
Well,
value it.
one of our earlier gigs was me and him. Our whole thing started out as a duo, with me
a
on
very
guitar and him on
acoustic duo
very acoustic duo.
and lots of
But
cover songs.
Yeah. And we got booked to do an assisted living
Mm.
place, and JR is like, do what?
I said, "Are we the
So,
nursing home band
oh,
now,
we the
Gary?
nursing
Come
home?
on."
Come on. Yeah, he was not into it at all. And we went and played the first one. He goes, I could do that every week. Because it was the attentive, they danced, they applauded, they were just ecstatic that we were there. I mean, it was, literally a captive audience, and they were captivated and
And
captivating at the same
we
time.
got this gig through a local charity that I did a little bit of work with afterwards called Accessible Music Project. And that's kind of what they do is they bring live music into nursing homes, that's when I realized that this is a market that is a ton of opportunity. They're everywhere in the country, and the people in nursing homes today in the 2020s, you might think old people listen to old people music. Well, old people music right now is the Rolling
Pretty
Stones,
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's way cooler music. It's not just, Frank Sinatra from the 40s. It is cool rock and roll, and if you can play anything close to that, they are going to love it.
Yeah.
And that's what we found. And we did a whole bunch of those gigs. And we now primarily play electric and very loud, and I don't think it would work inside a nursing home. We played
Hmm.
one outside in the parking
Outside.
lot of a nursing home.
Yeah.
And you talk about getting paid to play. If you do it acoustic and your setup is minimal and your travel time is minimal, how many nursing homes are you surrounded by in your city? In Cincinnati, there has to be 100 of them, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so much opportunity there for gigs. And if you build that equation into money gigs, I think you'll find that might be a money maker. That might be well
Yeah.
worth your
Yeah.
time. If you're a
Because I mean,
musician wondering if you should do that, I think your app could help you understand that it probably is worth it.
That's really interesting that
And
you
it's rewarding.
and
definitely,
rewarding. Yes.
definitely. I think an assisted living community is a venue, and you can add it. The thing with this is really important. Like the money gigs, if you call me, I will add locations into the public venue database. The public venue database subscription is $2 a month, but if you contact me directly and you're in a city I'm not in yet, I'll probably give it to you for free. But I'm slow dripping adding locations because if I could run the code right now, I could press play right behind this Zoom screen and it would go throughout the world and get all locations that purport to have live music and add them to the database. And then Google would send me a bill.
Yeah.
Because if you do it in batch like that, they send you a bunch. But if you drip it in, they do it under a time basis. It's free. And what I've discovered is it's enabling me to have a conversation with people from Scotland, the Dominican Republic, Australia, Charlottesville, wherever someone's interested. And it's been like, that has been a very interesting like wrinkle to this is that I feel like I'm learning about those communities. And that's pretty darn important as well. If you're going to undertake a product, you can't just assume that all communities are the same. They operate like, for example, my podcast with Portland. Portland is not Cincinnati. It
It's
is.
not
No.
It's not. No,
a
it
little bit
is not.
different. Just a
It is
smidge.
not Charlottesville. It's really different, and you get this vibe from the way they name their venues, the way the venues support the musicians, and off the podcast I did recently with Gregory McKillop, you just get the vibe is completely different. The makeup's different. So it's like I'm traveling without a budget. It's I get to go there and I get to see these things. So, but assisted living communities is a real important aspect, and I will definitely, take that under advisement for sure.
That experience you just described, we have it every week on our podcast as well, bands you've never heard of, because we interview these bands over Zoom. And you mentioned Scotland. We've done that. We just interviewed a band from Australia. We've been in the UK
New
several
Zealand.
times. New Zealand. We interviewed a blues guitarist from South Africa, currently living in Norway.
Wow.
Yeah, and Canada several times, all over the U.S. And getting a glimpse into the world. What is the music scene like where you are now? What are you doing? What are you playing? And are you traveling? Are you touring? We get to have all of those conversations, and I'm 100% living vicariously through these other bands, and having these musical experiences all over the world. It is fantastic.
It
And
is. It's really a great way to connect. And I feel like a lot of musicians undertake picking up an instrument, learning an instrument, certainly to the degree I did, mastering an instrument as a form of communication and expression, potentially because they weren't confident in the way they did it with their face. I like talking to other people may not have come naturally, or they may have had negative experiences, or it may never have felt like a true experience. But when you're using an instrument to do that, it feels better. And so having like not done that for so long and now doing it, I kind of kick myself. I'm going back to my 20s and 30s. I'm thinking I probably could have gotten a lot more opportunity if I was engaging with audience members on the break. Like
yeah,
basic stuff that is now, I think, perfunctory with lots of gigs. It's like you're on your break, yes, grab your drink, but say something to someone, connect with them. And the musician thing, the encouraging thing is there's lots of musicians, and there's lots of opportunity, but it really drives home, starting my own company, and I've worked for lots of corporate offices, and they put those things on the mantras on the wall. We value people, whatever, and they never, I can tell you 100% of the time, they never follow them. It's terrible. Well, mine will be followed. I have two very simple rules in my company. Number one is people, process, and then product. So that means we're going to value the people first. We're going to value what they're going through, and then we'll care about their music. Because honestly, when I do a podcast, I almost don't want to address the product. I want to talk about the person and what they're going through and how they got there, and let the audience kind of decide. Because I was in the jazz department at UC, and so that was you get the jazz bow. We become a very judgmental crew because we learned all those fancy changes and those bebop licks that nobody will get, either pay us or lay us for. So we get kind of the cynicism. And when I did my salsa band, my bass player, who could not read music, he said, "Cliff, I don't understand why you guys went to the conservatory. You emerged from there and you spend the rest of your lives playing other people's music. You don't write anything." And I was like, whoa. So, but the connection aspect, the people aspect that you're referring to, that has been both the musicians I'm interviewing, my stance toward people at gigs. It's really opening me up a bit. And honestly, I'm not good at it yet. And so I think with the podcast, with the app, with everything, I think, and I had this thought looking at some of your podcasts, it's a constant state of learning. And what a gift at 52. It's like, we think learning's over at some point, and then you're just gunning with what you got, maybe 45 or 40. No, it's not. And we have to continue to learn, certainly when the world's changing. But there's always something to learn about ourselves. When you say, Gary, are you kidding me? We're going to do that assisted living. When I get into those situations, like with the grocery store, even with the restaurant gigs I'm playing, I just constantly ask myself, what can I learn here? What is this teaching me? How can I, return on investment here? What's another way I can engage with people? I walked in one night downtown at the Banks location of Taste of Belgium. Some kid had a Red Hot Chili Peppers shirt on. So I sat down and I played Scar Tissue, another one of their tunes. And when I got done, I pointed at him and I said, "I want to thank you for wearing your shirt." He didn't even know he was wearing a Red Hot Chili Peppers shirt. So it was great. And the whole audience kind of laughed and it brought us in, set the tone. And, I made a bunch of tips that day. So it's really, the people thing is really first. The second rule in my company is no yelling. I cannot tell you how many corporate settings I've been in where, we're in software development projects and people just get straight up bloodthirsty screaming about whatever. And part of that is the money involved, but I'm sitting there thinking, guys, it's code. We're talking about, I kind of feel like about that, how Allen Iverson feels about practice. Are we talking about, we're talking about software, and I guess part of that, to go back to the baseball card, is I was raised by an Air Force captain. I landscaped for him, and that was my grandfather. And of course, my father was a musician. So there are things to get bent out of shape about. Software is not one of them. And if you're bent out of shape about that, if you're bent out of shape about anything, you're out of the game. You're just out of the game. You should step away, come back but that's big with me. No yelling, in my company or anything I'm doing.
I've got a comment and a question.
Good.
One, I have been at the same company on June 3rd, it will be a full 30 years. And we have 5 basic beliefs on the wall in all the places, in all of our locations. And I can say from day one to whatever day this is, those basic beliefs are absolutely ingrained in everybody in the company.
Great. That's great.
It's one of those rare things. I do realize how rare that is. But I just wanted you to know it does exist.
It
Well, who do
does
you work
happen.
for?
Yes.
Crutchfield.
Oh, like the catalog company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do they have a software team?
Oh, yes. And they're literally right upstairs from where I'm sitting right now.
I'll send you my resume.
There you go.
They're looking for a PO. I'd be happy to help. I love those magazines.
And the basic beliefs hold true whether you're in IT or phone sales or retail or merchandising or marketing. It's important, and if you're outside of those basic beliefs, you're not here very long. So it's one of the reasons I've been here so long.
Great.
So that's one.
Yeah.
And 2, you may have just answered this, so I may not need to ask it, but I am curious. Have you written music? Can I find your music on Spotify or anywhere else? Like, could I play one of your songs on this show?
I was just talking to somebody about that today. My friend my son had his friend over, and his father plays guitar, classical guitar, and we're both the same age. And the answer is really no. There's one tune that I wrote for my salsa band. I had a salsa band called Azúcar Tumbao, and we played American pop music in the salsa style. My goal was to bring more people into the community. And what I found out was I would end up offending more people. Like the folks that listen to Billy Joel would be like, why are you playing My Life? Why are you putting that in the salsa rhythm? And then the people who really wanted salsa, like, Mark Anthony and
Right.
Ruben Blades, they were like, what are you doing with our style? So they were really
So you can't do that. You can't do salsa like you do reggae.
You can actually. I did, and I destroyed. I was nominated for a City Beat Award. I can't remember what the year was. I was beat out by a reggae band called the Cliftones, which I found completely ironic because we were coupled into the world beat, world beat thing, and I thought reggae is always going to win. They've got the weed, so what are we going to do?
But you could also reggae and bluegrass are 2 things where you can play anything, and
Right.
just you can do Metallica, you can do
Snoop Dogg.
you can do anything, and if it you can give it a reggae beat, you can give it a bluegrass ornamentation, doesn't matter, and no one gets upset. I love that more than anything. But it's actually kind of sad to hear that if you try to do the same with salsa, that people get upset. It just that kind of
people want to feel safe, and I think salsa presents the possibility of dance, and it worked because we were nominated, we were popular, we had concert after concert. Yeah, and I appreciate the question. It's just further motivation, but it's really I use this other app, and I'm going to do a whole thing on apps for musicians, but the app that I would recommend highest above all others right now is called Rosebud. It is a journaling app, and if you pay for it, it talks to you. Like you can talk to it, and it's basically a journaling app. And what we arrived at was I keep saying this sentence over and over again. After I get done doing X, I'll do X. Like after I do the job and I've got savings and everything's great and everything's fine and the kids got to college and the orthodontics are paid for and the yard is mowed and the flower beds are weeded, then I'll write original music. And now it's when I get the app done and the podcasts and blah, 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 then I'll do that. And that's how folks like me think. It's just like there's going to come a time when I deserve to do that.
Mm.
And I think that's a huge word. And that comes from general upbringing. You
Right.
don't get to
Yeah.
play until you've worked.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I've run into in my entire life was like, well, that's your little hobby, you know.
Mhm.
You go and play with your little friends, and I'm like, well, that's what pays the bills,
Yes.
It's like, and it's a thing where you get caught up but you start thinking it yourself, and it's like, I'll be here, doing stuff, and yeah, I'm working 12 hours on doing graphics and doing websites and doing all this stuff, and I'm like going, wow. And then every so often I'm like, man, I should really actually do something.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
And
like that's not my job. It's like,
and
wait
it's
a minute.
really like a do something of it can be so simple, Gary. It was for me, Rosebud said, Cliff, I want you to go get your keyboard. I want you to just set it up on the patio. I want you to just play. I don't want you to play a tune. I don't want you to play a song.
Just
I don't want you to
play.
play, just play. And it was like transformative,
Hmm.
transformative. Like I just played for like maybe an hour or two, but the next day, like that night, I slept.
Hmm.
And the next day I woke up, and a lot of it could be the devices and how we're spinning our brains constantly, and we're not putting it into that mode enough. It could be very practically explained, but for me, I think it was the dawn, and that was like I want to say May of last year, where I built myself a patio as a meditative space, and then put my keyboard down on it and played, and that was the beginning of the end for my corporate corporate life because I was like, I'm capable of doing something else.
Hmm.
I'm capable of doing a lot. Clearly, I put like a 30-year career in IT together, and I don't know if anybody in IT will watch this. I hope not. It might affect my interview, but you can tell I almost have zero fucks to give about it because it's like I'm 52. You got to make your mark, and I've been making other people's marks for 30 years, so it's kind of time. So it's really right now it's what you guys are going through and everybody's going through is how do we talk to each other in this way? I think it was you, JR, in one of your episodes of it may have been I've watched so much today about how suspicious people are about things on the internet. Was that you?
Hmm.
No, that was me when we were talking about, because you asked me, you was like, you got right back with me, and
Yes.
and you open up the app, and I'm like, and I just said, I don't know, I got a vibe, it's like, I don't, it's not that I have, scamdar or anything like that, but yeah, it just seemed like you're real, you're not, you're not some model or some AI, generated, avatar that's sending me something to open, which I'm not going to open. I'm not going to open some random text, or I'm not going to open any of this other stuff. But
Right.
you're like, hey man, because I knew, that was where we tapped in was you had a TikTok about your app, and I'm like, and I put in like my 2 cents, and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you, and so then we started conversing, and you sent me the app, and I didn't even think about it. It's like it was just immediately I'm like, oh, okay. I did, absolutely make sure that it went to the app store and not, some,
Right.
some non-app store thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it was, it was a thing of, yeah, I'm 99% of the time I'm not going to do that.
Well,
But
I'm really happy that you decided to. I'm also happy that your home's not been raided or your bank account has not been emptied. I do get all that. I have
oh
a
no, I
very
have a family to do that. So
That's excellent.
Yeah.
But that's you can imagine the thing I have to overcome with musicians who value their obviously their money and their time and they're protecting. That's the irony is that I think the most resistance I get is musicians protecting their ability to music. I mean, I'm using it as a verb, but that goes away. That's eroded very easily, very quickly by the outside world. And here comes Cliff with his toy or whatever he wants me to look at, and it has the potential of doing me some harm. I'm not going to look at it. And the same is true to say if you're not doing some sort of a little bit, really what I want you to do is 1% of your week to pay attention to what you're making and what you're getting yourself into so that the freedom to do your music is open to you. But yeah, I'm super real. My wife keeps telling me, you should shave before you do TikToks. She's a little OG, but I don't. I'm super real, and I'm calling. I refer to myself as a Trojan horse inside of Noah's Ark. It's like I I I am unappreciative of how much we are governed by TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all this stuff. So I'm going to try to master it and I'm going to try to do this, but I almost missed the MySpace days because MySpace was very individual. Gary, I think you do
MySpace
websites,
was awesome.
don't you? You do websites for musicians. So
Yeah.
those were the days, man, because that was like what you got off of an individual website that you do not get off of a Facebook page is that individualism and that partnership
Yeah.
of a product happening. But yeah, if you look at my TikToks, I'm definitely real. I got on a guy today. I think I posted.
Oh, I saw that, man. I was going to bring that up. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
we'll go for it.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's like because I was going to ask you, do you go? Are you on Facebook at all?
Yes.
Have you
Love
seen the
MoneyGigs.
group? Have you seen the group Cover Band Central?
Yes.
Okay, are you a member of that by any chance?
I'm not. They just pinged one of my shorts. I'm doing shorts on YouTube now. I've gotten, I think, 10,000 views in the past 2 weeks, and just off the shorts. And he or she, I say he because the host on the YouTube thing is a male, but
Yeah.
pinged me and said something about it, and I was really really thankful. And that's the other thing I'm thankful about is seeing all these really great. I am thankful I'm not. They're very well produced, and I am not, and I don't intend to be. I won't do video, for example, my podcast because I want to provide sensory deprivation
Hmm.
to my consumers. I want you to shut your eyes. I want you to go back to the days when you used to sit down with an album and close your eyes. And if you opened them at all, it was to the liner notes,
Right.
it was that focus. But yeah. So yeah, that guy said, what did he say? I play for free because I like to play.
Yeah.
I,
Well, good for you. Hey, you
I
don't,
just I recorded that 3 times because
but
I was walking and there was a lot of noise pollution. And but Rosebud, I was talking to Rosebud and I gave him the concepts. I said, here are the concepts I want to record for TikTok. And he goes, Cliff, stop. He said, stop walking. Literally goes, stop walking, record that now, and come back and tell me you did it. I was like, oh my God, this is AI telling you this. So I was okay. So I recorded it. And at first I was like F-bombing. But something has happened. I'd say post 50. What did I say my second rule was? No yelling.
yeah, no
So
yelling.
it was just kind of like, no, I'm going to go ahead and bake some empathy in. So I was like, you know what? It's okay that you'd like to play for free. Do it in a basement with your friends. I do it every week. I do that every single week. I think it's important. We just touched upon it with me playing on the patio. It's important to play without an agenda. I I wish I could build that concept into an app.
Hmm.
Maybe you log time that you played for no one into the app and
Right.
build up to I could gamify it, but I think it is superbly important that you sit down and ruminate with an instrument or sit down with friends with beer and remember it's not just a job.
Right.
It's
Well,
a
that's why partially why I brought up the Cover Band Central because to reference what you were talking about, where you're getting some of this clap back and some people going, oh well, I don't trust it. I don't, I mean, JR, we've been on there for way too long. And we're there just for the shitty comments. I mean, because all these people have, I don't know what their fucking problem is,
Mm.
but they have a fucking problem with everything. I don't give a shit what it is. There's 8,000 people that have a fucking problem with it. And it sounds like, and I wonder because those are only, those are all cover band. We talked to original bands that are like, yeah, we're playing in a laundromat. We were excited,
Yeah.
like, because they, and you constantly talk about your product, and that's different if you're playing cover songs
Hmm.
than if you're playing original music, because the product, playing cover songs, is the performance.
Yeah.
But the literal product for original music is literally the music.
Hmm.
And so it's a different, it can be a slightly different delivery system. What we try to do is put it, meld those two things to where, that it is that we take more of a cover band stance
I
at
really
it.
think that's beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
but it was amusing me as you were talking about it before. You were like, when you were getting these guys, I was like, well, I'm not going to open that up. And I'm like, holy shit, this list sounds like Cover Band Central.
Well,
And
I
those are the people that could really benefit
they could.
from this app in a major way. And of
Yeah.
course, you always got to go, well, we won't walk out of the house for less than $1,000 a piece. I'm like going, oh, more power to you, buddy.
Right.
I'm glad for you. I
Well,
mean,
there's a lot, once you start talking about something, your phone picks up on it, and then your Facebook feed is advertisements about all this stuff. So
mhm.
you can imagine what mine looks like. There are a lot of apps, none
Oh yeah.
for the individual musician. There are a ton of apps for bookings and band leaders and managing bands. I think because they presume that their niche has to be people who are business minded, and I'm insane. So I'm going after the
Just solos and duos
Mandalorian,
and
man. This is the way I'm going after the solo guy because that's the guy I respect. Probably because
and
my
they're the ones
father.
that need the most help, honestly, because they're going to get,
Yes,
a
in a
lot of
number of
them.
ways. I think
Mm,
it's a matter of the awareness. Let's not have you wasting your time. Let's reflect on the gig, but also we definitely need a. My dream is renting out the Madison Theater in Covington and booking three bands, cash bar, and awarding venues for treating musicians right, period. Like,
oh wow.
and we'll give you something that you can put up on your, a
Yeah,
plaque,
plaque. Yeah.
something with the icon. The icon, by the way, was designed by my wife. I'll never change it. She doesn't even like it, but I don't care. It's awesome. But yes, rewarding them, it changes the dynamic
Yeah.
of we're at the mercy of the venues and what they pay and what they, yeah, but no. Once we start standing up for ourselves and just a little bit, like in that comment of I play for free because it's fun, or because I think it's fun, or I have fun, so I play for free. I could root cause that and say, why is he saying that? And that's what I did before I responded. And I thought, is he saying that because he doesn't feel like he's worth the money? And that I think is the answer everybody's got to go at like tonight. Like, are you playing for free because you don't think you're worth what you're actually worth? Like, I'll tell you what you're worth, as I've done this for 38 years. So I will tell you directly that your product is worth more than zero for sure. If
Yeah.
you're going in and if you're able to hold, for example, a 2 hour set or a 3 hour set in a restaurant, and you're constantly in that learning of and observing and connecting, if you're doing that basic thing, you're worth more than nothing. And, it's not just that you're debilitating the economy of the market. It's not just that somebody's graduating from college having spent, I mean, I was in debt until I was in my mid 40s, and now it's like a quarter
No,
million
it's way
dollars.
worse. Yeah.
My kid said he wanted to go to Berkeley. So please, please buy my app. Uh, so, and he needs orthodontics too. He's going to arrive at Berkeley with like four teeth left. But yeah, it's. I think everybody should understand. And you know what? I go back to your assisted living. That's what they know. They know it's not worth zero.
Hmm.
So this is a great TikTok for tomorrow. Don't let the first time you realize how valuable you are be the first time you played an assisted living community.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in your 20s and you haven't figured out that, and I said this in my most popular TikTok on YouTube, I said live music performance is Homeland Security. It is. Because when you go in and you engage people and you're good about that, you give them a chance to be seen and heard. And that is the thing that's missing. That is the whole reason we are where we are. Like enough people aren't feeling heard. They aren't feeling seen. I don't care what side you're on. There's a lot of people that just feel alone. Some of that is their fault. They picked up one of these and they just never came out of it, or they went into some sort of hole. But when you connect with somebody and play their Red Hot Chili Peppers tunes, or when somebody goes through the grocery store and I play a Jill Scott tune, they're like, whoa, so you connect. And I think that is uniquely states of America. And I think it is Homeland Security. I think that's the difference between, somebody who's made the effort to come out to eat. And everybody, since Yelp was invented, right? And it's ironic that I'm ragging on Yelp, but because I've just made one for musicians, but everybody's a critic. So they come to these experiences feeling that a lot of the time. Like, is this going to be worth my money? Is this going to be worth my time? Well, you're providing extra return on their investment that they didn't likely expect unless they saw live music was there. And then when you engage them and play their song, or even say, am I too loud? My favorite line now is, you have to tell me if I'm too loud because I can't hear anymore. Uh, so when you engage them, they feel seen and heard. And to me, that's one of the essential needs that musicians provide.
Uh, so two questions for you, and I'm going to totally change gears now and talk podcast. I noticed you try to keep most of your episodes fairly short, 10 to 20 minutes. You had an episode recently that was more like 45 minutes. You talked about it on the episode.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, in the short time you've been doing this, do you see a difference in listenership? Does that make a difference? Is it because you want the episode to be less intimidating by being shorter, to get people to listen? And what has the results been of all that?
If I'll use two sides of my personality here. Deep down inside, did people really want to listen to me for longer than 15 minutes? That's answer one. And number two was, do they have the practical time? And I'm going to say something I've said a million times, both software and music. Your product doesn't matter. Your product doesn't matter. Your podcast doesn't matter. Your music doesn't matter. Your food doesn't matter, because you are a whisper in a sea storm of screams. And so the thing that matters is the emphasis on that connection. The thing that is going to bring you to the surface. YouTube its algorithm is tuned into it. TikTok, I've proven it. I've proven it because I'll show you the counts on my YouTubes, but my shorts, like I put something up a couple days ago, it was me using my app. Even though I was in the bottom of the screen, it kind of got stepped on. But when I literally in the next like 5 minutes, I just posted a short that said, what was it? Have you lost friends or bandmates due to pay issues? 1,800 views, 1 hour,
Wow.
just done. So right there, I just did an A/B test of format, kind of the same message. One was my app and using the calculator and precision. Granted, I think I kind of mumbled through it, but I'm feeling that out, that constant state of, I have a spreadsheet that contains every ad, every promotion, every video, every short I've done on all platforms with counts and comparisons. And then I just give that to Claude, or I give that to Gemini and say, pick my channel for this week, so that I can focus, which you figured out I have a hard time doing.
Right.
Yeah, the 44 happened, I think, for a few reasons. The 44-minute podcast with Gregory, for a few reasons. He really gave me a lot of information, like a lot of good touring strategy stuff. And it was a genuine, and he actually was upset. He emailed me and he said, Cliff, you cut yourself out too much. We were having a really good
A
conversation,
good back and forth. Yeah.
and it was nice. But I said, well, that was my dad who edited. And it was really kind of funny. So I don't know where that's going to evolve. I think above all, I do not want to waste anyone's time, because the problem with humans is we think we have it, and we do not. You do not have time. So I don't want to waste anyone's time at all. My time has been wasted by all sorts of things, and I regret all the moments. And some of that was self-inflicted. I think that might be like, along with know your worth with my app, don't waste your time, is important, and it doesn't come from a glib notion either. It is, you're doing something extremely valuable, and with podcasts as well, and creating connection, and I really love the format. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it happened. I don't know why Conan O'Brien left his perfectly reasonable outfit on TV, or what was it, satellite at some point, and decided to do that. Mark Maron, certainly. I've been listening to those guys forever, but yeah. So that's kind of the thought. The thought was, I'm doing a podcast. I want it to be consumable, 15 minutes. But what I'm finding with podcasts is, like, your counts are too low. And you have a great product. Your product is really well done. You got backgrounds. You're far more, you got the setup with the windscreen and everything. So what I've discovered is you really have to actively promote.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to
That's
hit.
that's where we always fall short, and straight up.
No,
Is
I think every day now, and I think, and it sounds like what you are doing is that I think I could grow this thing a lot if I buckled down and put out something. And it doesn't even have to be incredible content, but something on TikTok and Shorts and Instagram regularly, daily, weekly, something, because I'm now doing it sporadically when I remember, and finally just, okay, I got to do it. But if I made a concerted effort to put one of those out on a regular basis, I could highlight the bands that we featured. I could highlight a thought I have on the bands. It could be any number of little things like that. They could be 50 seconds,
Right.
and that I think that brings the awareness that is probably missing and would probably drive some
I'll give
numbers.
you the keys. I'll give you the keys a little bit. So like the things that I've seen, and you can almost see it in my counts. Like my first YouTube, first of all, I use Buzzsprout. I don't know how you distribute your podcast. Is it only YouTube, or are you using a distributor?
So I started my podcast world with Anchor,
Yeah.
that then got bought by Spotify, and I'm still using that.
Spotify.
But I upload this YouTube completely separately because it's YouTube.
So
Uh,
Buzzsprout will distribute to 42 different podcast providers, and it will copy it, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them. Like so many people, and it'll tell you where it's coming from. It treats YouTube interestingly in that it sends a copy, and it doesn't publish it, doesn't hit the publish button, because it knows that if you publish content in a podcast with a transcript, and you don't leave it unlisted or private for 24 hours, you will not get the traction, because you haven't given the algorithm enough time to absorb your content and find its home. And so where you can jump the ship on that is, you could take your podcasts. I mean, you've got 36 episodes. They're probably what, an hour or so. So 60 minutes, 36, like you
Closer
have
to 2 hours.
you have 2,000 shorts that you could make almost automatically if you just feed your podcast, probably to Claude or Gemini. I think there's already stuff that they do it, sound bites, and you make 8 second, 10 second, 15 second. Consider it a video game. You do not get to make a 30 second until you've gotten 1,000 views on 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, because then you're building up that trust with the algorithms, both TikTok and YouTube. Now, I cannot tell you why something does well on TikTok and something does well on YouTube. In this moment, I feel like TikTok wants walk and talk. They want you to go outside and walk around. Now, I have promoted the podcast there. I did some interesting, and I haven't just done musicians. I did a restaurant owner my previous podcast with Joby Bowman here. She runs the Brew River Creole Kitchen on Eastern Avenue in Cincinnati, and she has music 6 nights a week. And that was how can we convey from her what's important to her for musicians. And so that was really popular. And Reddit has been an absolute gold mine. Just an absolute gold mine. You have to have really thick skin
Yeah.
because there's a bunch of people in there that have a I think Gary was talking earlier about people who have a fucking problem. That seems to also be where they congregate, but
But they're really creative in how they do it on Reddit, though. Like,
well, give them that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, there's a lot of wisdom in there, and I think about it a lot. And then of course, I work my full-time job, and I just got a part in a musical theater production, so I'm going to have even less time.
What are you doing?
I'm going to be playing the Mayor Claude in Come From Away. I'm pretty excited about that.
When?
June, mid-June, right here in Virginia, just north of Stanton, Virginia.
If I'm not in New York because my son is with the Cincinnati Boy Choir and they're traveling to New York City, I have to check the dates. That might even be on the way in kind of a roundabout way.
Yeah, it'll be right. It's right off of 81.
Yeah.
So.
I so want to come and check you guys out. Because there's not enough organ on that first tune. I'm biased. You need some Hammond or some B3 or something on that.
But I need more B3 anytime.
Yeah.
More B3. Man.
Yeah, that's my thing. I play a Korg SV1. It's basically my religion. I've made tens of thousands of dollars with that instrument. It is a beautiful keyboard. It's only keyboard sounds. There's some string sounds, but there's no horns. I'm an adamant person of if you want a horn sound, I got a black book filled with horn players. I generally don't use backtracks. When I do, it comes off of my like iReal Pro, so I make them real cheap, and I go real low just so they're there, but they're not. Because if you want a drummer, I got a black book filled with drummers. So I'm very much. I don't want to call myself a purist, and it's hard to be now. It's really hard. Because so many people just arrive with just straight up backtracks for covers.
Oh God, I hate that karaoke.
It's nuts.
It's just fucking karaoke, man.
Yeah, not interested at all.
It's really kind of amazing. I will say this, for generations of people who were raised on music and music education as from a classical perspective, where your objective is to play it like the record. When you're playing Beethoven or you're playing Mozart, there's not a lot of room for personality. The people that can pull that off, we call those savants and maestros because it can happen. But for those generations that were raised on that classical incentive during the time when we were more involved militarily and in conflicts that were not controlled by video game warfare. This was real stuff. I'm speaking as a grandson of an Air Force captain who was also a medic, and I mowed his lawn, and if I missed a spot, you can imagine what would happen. So, precision became the goal. Producing music precisely became the goal. And so when we started taking on that cover stuff, we got to get it just like the record. Well, the problem with that is you are always going to be worse than the record. There's no way.
You don't get 34 takes.
Right. Exactly. And so why not? I've always been nonconformist there. It's like, I'm always like, okay, you want me to play this? I'm going to play this next Steely Dan tune, but I'm going to play the Cliff. You're going to get the Cliff version. I am not going to pretend to be Donald Fagen.
You're going to get the Cliff Notes? Is that what you're saying?
The Cliff Notes.
I'm going to go print. I'm looking to print I've gotten to the point in gigging where I need my face up and something. I'm going to put that up there. You're going to
Cliff Notes. Yeah.
I love it. On that note, when I looked up on Spotify, Cliff Adams, I found Cliff Adams and his Magic Steinway. That's not you? No? Okay. Just figured.
There's another Cliff Adams. I think that's in England. He's pretty famous. But yeah, I'm nowhere on Spotify.
Got it.
Except the MoneyGigs podcast.
I think we're nearing the end of this. Is there anything?
Yeah, we've gone way past your 15 minutes.
You said that. I think we're ending we're nearing the end of this, and this contains so much. It
It
contains.
well, it
It's
does.
been fun, but I also feel like I've been beaten, and I don't know what just happened. I'm not sure it was worth anything, but I'm gonna have dinner later, and then that'll make us all feel better. No, appreciate that.
uh what I'm planning to do with this, and all this is what I'm saying right now will be part of the episode. I think this thing probably airs in its entirety. We might record an intro and an outro, and let this be the talk, because I think it's helpful for not every one of the bands that have been on our show, but a lot of them could benefit from this and thinking about, hey, am I making money? What am I doing? What is my marketing plan? I think there's a lot of very helpful knowledge nuggets in this. And so I think it's relevant to people that are into this. If you came to this episode expecting to hear a bunch of music and me playing stuff for Gary and an interview with the band, you might be disappointed. But if you're interested, I also like the idea that we finally found a podcast where it made some sense to do some cross promotion. So whatever bit of this you end up with on your 15-minute podcast, I'll take it.
I think
or-
we'll reverse roles, but I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. I'm in this to learn. In order to learn from this, we have to release it into the wild, just like a live song or anything you're doing. So I want to release it and see how it goes, and I will help you promote it. I think I want to, I'm not going to sit here and give all this quote unquote wisdom and then not put it into practice and end up being wrong, which I think is actually the birth of wisdom. But yeah, I think we'll learn from it and see what happens. But I definitely want to mention that please download MoneyGigs. I would love to make Charlottesville like that home, instead of my own. I would love to come out there and rent a hall and have a few bands and reward the venues that treat you well. I think, there's, I didn't mention this, the app only works on an invite code. You can't actually get into the public database and see the venues in the public database without an invite code. You can use the app, you can download it. It's a gig tracker. You can track all your gigs, you can do the retrospective. So all the functionality is free. But if you want to attach to the venue database to keep restaurant and bar owners out, I am screening. So you get an invite code, and hopefully that's given to you by another musician. When you download the app and you connect to the public database, you get invite codes and you can invite people to participate. And right now that's a $2 subscription, but your podcast people, I want to give you a code so people listening to this podcast can get it for free forever. So if you use the code that I'll give JR and Gary, you will get all feature, all function of this app forever. And it is my career now. I actually like to say you're hiring me as your employee when you download my app. So,
well, I was just going to say that to me, the venue tracker is the most useful for like what we do, for our kind of more leaning more toward original, but definitely more a somewhat hybrid thing, and having the knowledge of where can we go, because that's an important thing with cover bands too. It's like, why would you want to beat the doors down on a place that is never going to have you? That it's just, and then you just sit there and go, man, they're a bunch of assholes because they wouldn't return my calls. And like, well, you don't fit their mold. Why would they? You're just, you saw your buddies there, but you play death metal.
You're doing the thing,
and they play bluegrass.
I got to stop you because you're doing the thing that I mentioned earlier. Rejection is everywhere.
Yeah.
And the you bothered to make it personal. And I do that all the time. Dude, I've sent out 250 resumes since January, and I've gotten 249 straight up rejections just on that. So rejections everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But it's probably because they're busy. I mean, especially restaurant owners, or managers or something. I mean, my friend John Francois, he set up a chat and he never looks at it. He's set it up for me. They're busy people.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying a lot of people are just sending it to the wrong place too. It's like, well, I mean, that's what that was my point was, why would they call you back? Because they are busy. They're trying to get this stuff done and they would like to book a band, but they're an Italian restaurant,
Yeah.
with, they don't necessarily want speed metal in there.
Correct.
Yeah,
I've
perfect.
yeah.
Like the venue tracker thing is great because like when Gary says, "All right, we're going to be playing at this new place, an RV park," right? My first question is, okay, are we bringing the PA or do they have a sound system? I would love to be able to just go look at the app and go, okay, I need to bring the PA, I need to do this. Also, it would be great to be able to go, hey, can we play these places that have a sound system so that we don't have to bring
Yeah.
the PA? And are they going to ask us to turn the music down, or are they going to let us play music the way we want to play music, or are we background? Are we a feature? Like all of that stuff, and being able to know about a venue but ahead of time. I think there's a lot of value in that. That's fantastic.
Well, my dream there is, how about paying for a vacation while you're on vacation? Have you ever
100%.
gone somewhere and
100%.
holy shit, like we went to
with your four
Panama
favorite
City.
people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you could do that, or you could do it with your. I mean, I'm a solo keyboardist, but yes, you could go on a vacation to Panama City Beach, and you pull up in your phone, and you're going to see open mics, jam sessions, reviews. You're going to know. And recently, I added in the profile where you can put your instrumentation in your genre, so then it'll eventually match that for you. I still have to build that in, but you'll see jam sessions in venues that work for you around you. And the thing that you'll know is that information is not coming from Karen, who didn't get her pasta until it was too cold. It's coming from another musician who was there and was able to hook his bass up and play, and then he thinks it's cool, and they give you 2 free drinks, and whatever. You could even book gigs before while you're renting the Airbnb. Go ahead and scout out a place to play. That's my dream for everyone is just like explore the world with the tool that you have, the weapon that you have, that weapon of love of music. That's something that you should be able to carry around proudly.
A couple quick questions. We want people to go to themoneygigs.com, right? That's how people find your app.
Yes, sir. TheMoneyGigs.com is yeah, that's the central for sure. If you put a /podcast, you'll get to the podcast. If you put a /the calculator, or you can see those in the menu, there's an edition of the calculator that's free, and you can figure out how much you made per hour this evening. So there's lots of tools there to help out. But I probably need Gary's influence on my website. It's a little, it was a little last minute, scissors, tape, and glue. But
I had already started making some notes, so we'll get together
it's rough around the edges
this week.
Yeah.
How do you want us to give out the code, the invite code for our listeners? Do we put it on our website? Do we put it in the show notes? Do we email it to people that ask us for it? How do you want us to distribute that?
All of the above.
Do we have them pay as a bounty and we split that with you?
I might even give you 2. I mean, I might say, I have them on my phone, and I can send them to you. These are founder codes. So the 3 codes on my phone, which I've given you, you get not just the app for free and the public tier, but anything else I do. If I do multiple tiers, you will always be your founders essentially with me. So yeah, all of the above, whatever works best. If you give your codes, those are $2. Those are the $2 subscription. So I will send you a code that's free. We'll limit that to the first 100 and see how far we get. Oh gosh, wouldn't that be a wonderful problem? We ran out of count. I would love to get that phone call.
So the first 100 people get the app for free.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
Everybody else, it's $2.
Well, I think we might have 35 and 36 that might be start out with there. So.
Well, they'll be on stage when I come to your town and rent the hall. I will hire their bands. I think the one thing is people need to understand I am a white glove CEO. If you have downloaded my app, you have gotten an email from me at least twice. I'm so interested in your experience as a musician. I'm so interested in your experience with the app. But just like Gary just did, commenting that the terminology is a little confusing. I need that feedback because, as most musicians are, I can get in my own head and I can think the world is right in here. But I'm wise enough to know that sometimes that's not the case, and I just need to hear other people's voices. And honestly, that's probably the theme song for my at least my next 10 years. I need to hear other people's voices besides mine. So, says the man who talks too much.
And you're going to send me a link or a file or something of some music that we can inject into this episode at appropriate times.
isolation, race relation, cancellation, segregation, dispensation, isolation, exploitation, mutilation, mutation, recreation, reformation, the evils of the world, and spending most of their lives living in a future paradise.
Cliff, thank you so much for being on our show, for letting us be on your show. This has been great.
For sharing your show, for sharing shows.
Let's stay in touch. And I'll email you back a link to
The worst
theater.
part of the podcast because I can't shake your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Fist bump.
Yeah, fist bump,
Fist
man.
bump.
Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Thanks, Cliff.
Don't be a
Thanks,
stranger,
Cliff.
please. Ciao, ciao.
All right, Gary, that was a lot of fun. Boy, Cliff Adams said he likes to talk, and he was not kidding.
Nope, but he doesn't. I don't think he is a big kidder.
No,
'Cause
but
he was right on the money with that.
But here's the thing, the stuff he had to say, I was totally engaged with the whole time. I thought it was valuable. I learned things that we can apply in the background of this show to maybe get more listeners to this show. So his insights were not just how can a gigging musician make more money, but podcast stuff,
Right.
and all that.
And
so it's valuable.
And I think we gave him some insights too from bringing in some of the stuff from what we've seen on our side of things. So it was overall this is definitely one of my more favorite podcasts, one of my favorite casts, because from the non music guest standpoint, because it was so informative and such a collaboration too. I can't wait to work with him in the future.
And I can't
with
wait to
his
get the
amp
link
and-
to his music. I'm so curious what Billy Joel done salsa style sounds like.
I know.
And I'm hopeful that I can drop that in. Maybe it's already been dropped into this episode, or maybe it'll be coming up right here after the end credits. I don't know where it's going to live in the episode, but I'm excited to hear it. As we record this, I don't have that yet, so I'm pretty excited to do that. For Cliff Adams and the app that he has developed, it's themoneygigs.com. That's where you go for that. For everything related to this podcast and all the bands we have featured, and it's BYNHOPod, BYNHOPOD.com. And what's the website for our band there, Gary?
That's tobefair.com, TOBEFARE.com.
If you are a music business insider and think you have some helpful tips for us, for our listeners, get in touch. Go to BYNHOPod.com and click on Contact Us, or BYNHOPod@gmail.com also works. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here, you are my hero.
Yes, you've got what it takes. Definitely. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace out, everybody. All right, that's done. What's next?